Yo, how we doing, everybody? It's Chase. So today we will cover ES, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. Schedule's getting a little better, so we got a morning video coming around for you. As usual, we're going to start on the daily time frames and we'll work our way down. First thing I want to do real quick is just take a peek at some of the charts that I put out in tweets earlier this week. Okay, just to get a footing as to where we're at. This was ES. I had an idea that we would potentially sweep the lows and go towards 407 or so, 407.2, or I said, it's possible it just goes right away, but I sort of put a question mark around it. Look, guys, these are like plans, right? These are broader ideas, and I do apologize if you're expecting, some type of a guaranteed follow-up or a guaranteed signal off of these. It's not something I can always do, okay? Just to put that out there right away. I did catch an ES move. I'll talk about it, but I didn't post it to Twitter. It happens sometimes. Look, I can't post every single trade. It's a bit more stressful, honestly, when I post every single trade. When I'm just trading on my own, it's very like vibing. And then when I have to post to Twitter, and you just got to see it from my perspective. Sometimes I can just give the idea, because once I post the trade, immediately I get, okay, what's the invalidation? Oh, Chase, this looks weak. Are we closing? Your idea is different than so-and-so's or so-and-so's. Why? Who's going to be right? Incoming stop out. I get a million different comments, and it actually makes it harder to trade on my end. So over the past week or two, really, I've been trading more on my own and less on Twitter. I've still been providing the ideas and the frameworks, and hopefully that have been helpful. But in terms of like saying, bidding here, longing here, I've laid back a tiny bit. We'll get back into it. It comes and goes. Sometimes I'm feeling more aggressive and more confident in the market, and sometimes I take a little step back. And recently it's just been a little bit of step back. But like I said, hopefully the framework has been helping you. So look, I had drawn this out, right? And if we go look at ES, if we went to the 4 hour, was where I had drew it at. Guys, it's pretty clear, right? It doesn't take a market wizard to hit some of these trades, right? So my plan comes true, right? We get a sweep. I'll show you how I entered. We get a sweep and we start going towards. Now, of course, we didn't go to target yet. We really just filled into here. But just take a quick look at it, right? What happened? We had a daily liquidity, okay? So first thing I want you to look at is always on the daily time frame. I want you to say, okay, where's the liquidity on the daily? Well, it's below here, and in my opinion, it's above here. I still think we could be headed towards here, although we do have to be cautious this morning. We have Powell speaking at 9:10, I believe, and Europe rates or whatever at like 2 p.m. I'm not sure the exact time on the Europe rates, but Powell will be talking around 9 a.m., so we do have to practice caution this morning. But ultimately, I don't think that we're going to get anything crazy, right? I think that, if anything, maybe we get a quick, looking at Bitcoin, maybe we get a quick retrace at most, and then I still feel like these highs are too obvious, and this liquidity will be pushed into, and we will get a candle that goes up into here. So I am actually currently long on Bitcoin from a little bit lower, and my stop is simply below the impulse. Where's the impulse? Below this impulse. I don't think we should be going much lower. Why? If we look at my framework, once again, I had marked out a daily low, right? Daily liquidity, and I drew this. Now, this was before we had even broken down or anything. So I drew the breakdown, a little bit of consolidation, which we didn't get much, and then sweeping this low. Okay, we go back to Bitcoin. Let's look at it. Breakdown sweeps the low. Now, we didn't get the consolidation, right? Maybe we get the consolidation now. But either way, once the liquidity is ran in one direction, I'm expecting the other stops to be ran. It's as simple as that. Okay, so as you guys can see, the framework was on point for these trades. You need to figure out how to, find your own way in sometimes. All right. So we're back onto ES. We look at ES first. We know ES typically drives the market. And let's just look, where was my entry on ES and how did I figure it out? I think it was pretty easy. Okay, so you had the sweep just as I drew. Okay, we're not going to keep flipping back and forth. You had the sweep as I drew, and then what do you have after the sweep? Well, you sweep, you consolidate, you have basically like your market structure high here, depending on how you want to do it. You could do it here, you could do it here if you want to be even more aggressive. But I would have put it here for this one, right? Because it was a little questionable how we were interacting with the level, right? You didn't know if it was going to break down. So I wanted a bit more confirmation. So I took this high here. And you can just see it like this, right? You have your lows. You have a new low, okay? Fresh low, lower high, lower low. So when you break the previous high from the previous low, right? So this was the previous low, and this is the high of the previous low. Once you broke through that, and not only did you break through that, but look, you broke through it on impulse. Remember? So I've talked to you guys many times about impulse. Let me take a sip of water. To my trading style, impulse is very important. It shows participants are interested and volatility could be near. So what I see from this is I have my major level marked out on the daily, and I'm saying, okay, so we've taken daily liquidity. We've deviated below. We've reclaimed. Look at these 4-hour closes. 4-hour closes above. It pushes back down. Look at this close. It retests. It closes above again. So now we have 2 consecutive closes above. One more retest of the daily level, and it goes. Okay? For me personally, I saw we had the market structure break, right? So I saw this on the market structure break, and I said, okay, well, resistance, flip support, right? Where was that? That was down here. So I waited a little bit and I said, well, is this going to come back down? I actually didn't have the balls to jump in here. But when I saw it tap this, I said, okay, well, this should hold. So now I have my invalidation point, right? So this was going to be my invalidation one if we moved back above, okay? We end up getting this strong impulse candle above. I entered somewhere in here or something, and then stop was below here. So to try to break it down in TLDR this essentially, daily liquidity, market structure break, right? Impulse through, resistance flip support, and then it breaks back through, retests the daily level. I didn't even wait for this retest because I thought it was going to go. I just entered like here. And then, hey, where was my target? I bet you guys know, if you know me, you know where my target was. It was right here. It's this liquidity. So I took liquidity, I took profit right here, and the rest of this move has gone on without me. All right. So that is, I got to turn on my air. It's too hot in here. Okay, so that's ES, right? Now we'll talk about where we go from here. Just keep it simple. So, in my opinion, again, swept liquidity. We're going towards here, most likely, in my opinion. We'll have to figure out how we're going to get there. We have the deviation here. We do have a lot of space in here. If we were to take a fib and say, if we had a retracement, we also have, let's see, before the impulse up, we had a resistance level here, and this resistance level is fairly confluent with, the equilibrium to the 705, 618. I would have to say that around here-ish, red box, maybe here, to the 618, yeah, somewhere right around here, I think would probably be a good buy for a continuation towards 4072. Now I talked about this on Twitter, I'm taking one trade at a time, right? ES and Bitcoin, they're essentially moving in a similar fashion, right? So if one's going to stop out, the other one's most likely going to stop out too. And I've been preferring ES lately, but I actually think that it's Bitcoin's time to move soon. So when I look at Bitcoin and I see the sweep of this daily level, and I see all these clean highs here, this is what's really attracting me to the Bitcoin trade right now. It's just these clean highs. Like you never swept, right? Look, so you had liquidity, you didn't sweep it. You had liquidity, you didn't sweep it. Liquidity, you didn't sweep it. Liquidity, you didn't sweep it. To me, when you see something like that, that often means that you're gonna get, you're gonna get one of those dildos that's gonna go like this and just straight up and rip all the stops. Okay, so everyone who's shorted from here, then they move their stops to here. Once it broke down, so you shorted here, it broke down again, you move your stops to here, okay, it breaks down again, you move your stops to here. That's the way that a quote unquote retail participant, even though I know we're all retail, but I just have to use the word, That's the way that a quote-unquote retail participant is thinking. Is they're thinking that, okay, this is a safe place to put my stops. This is the consolidation before the breakdown. We should get a rejection here. This is what they're thinking. We should get a rejection here. But what is actually going to happen is that it's going to rip right through this. They're going to get stopped, and then all these people are going to get stopped. All this liquidity drawn. And then, so we look at targets of here. That's my first target. Then I look towards the target of here. This is my second target. And then if it was to continue upwards, I think that we'll find resistance around here. Why this level? We can see an impulse through, support, 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 breaks down right through. When you see a strong breakdown right through here, again, think about what was happening right here. I'm sure some people were trying to buy. So if these people were trying to buy here, maybe they filled some spot, and all of a sudden they're underwater hugely, and they're holding, they're panicking. If it happens to get back towards their break-even price, you can almost guarantee that they're going to want to get out, and that typically creates resistance. Support, 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 breakdown through on impulse, most likely flips to resistance. But for me personally, I'm just seeing daily liquidity taken, right? Of course, it could come down and take it again. It's possible. That happens, guys, and that's just when you get stopped out. That is the market. It is what it is. No one can predict. I mean, I guess somebody could predict, but it depends, right? If there's a lot of consolidation, if there's a lot of consolidation in here and it doesn't look like it's doing a lot, and, it taps this or something, and you're like, oh, well, this is looking like it could go for a second tap. Well, then you might be able to see it coming. But after an initial sweep and an impulse up, I don't think anyone's saying, oh yeah, we need to sweep this again immediately. It doesn't really make much sense. Even if you look over at ES, you had a sweep, you had an impulse. You didn't sweep it again for a while. It wasn't like ES is the king of sweeps and the king of liquidity, essentially. So not until 5 days later did you get that secondary sweep. So Bitcoin just swept. I don't think it needs to sweep again immediately. I think it needs to take these stops. Now, if it shows no strength whatsoever and it simply just consolidates in here for a bit, maybe I close, maybe I go to half risk, maybe I look for a secondary sweep. If we get a secondary sweep, I enter again, and then we look for the targets again. But long story short, looking for this, but really most of my profit will be taken at this liquidity. Okay, you know how Bitcoin is. In my opinion, it's not very strong lately. I think the chart shows that, obviously. I was looking for a bit higher in here. I was going to be going pretty turbo short. I didn't get my fill. Just weakness, right? So overall weakness, and that's how I see it. So I'm not, trying to give Bitcoin any big chances. I'm taking profit when I get my move. Just how I did it on ES, right? Is ES very strong? Not really. You guys know, this is my most painful trade of the year. All I was waiting for was a second sweep of this, a little something like this, a little consolidation, and a second sweep to stop everybody out. I was going hugely short right there and just didn't get it. So again, in my opinion, that's a bit of weakness, right? And then you get a strong rejection, you get an even stronger rejection, then you've been putting low, lower high, low, lower high, low, lower high, low, lower high, low, and then you break that market structure. That's why I'm thinking that we're starting to move. And you see that line that I drew? That's sort of confluent with what I was talking about before. Obviously you can have a little bit of a deviation, you can have a bit of a move, but if you look at that and you say, oh, that's sort of where Chase drew out before, somewhere around here. And that could probably give us our bounce towards this area here. So watching that on ES, watching Bitcoin to move up. Like I said, I'm already long on Bitcoin, I think from 19.1 maybe. 19, it's like 19.15 or something. I'll show you on the lower time frame. So Bitcoin breaks down, you get your wick, you get your high here. What does it do? It comes up, it sweeps the high, quick liquidity grab, breaks down. But then you quickly get bulls showing up and saying, not today, and we're going to push it up. Okay, so what do you get here? You get an impulse through. So we now have resistance, flip to support off of this impulse move. Okay, we come back down into the demand level. And I got in somewhere around, it was either in here-ish or here-ish or something, I really don't know. Point being, long, right? So you have this flip to support level here, And now we start, hopefully going for that push, right? We want to see this stay support. Stop wise, like I said, stops below the impulse. If it gets back down below here, I'm not very confident in it. I don't see why it should, right? If you took this from a market structure perspective, you had a low, then you had your lower low, you had a high. So you break your market structure here. You can see the respect on the candle closes. You break through. Perfect tap of support right there. I didn't even see that before, but perfect tap of support. Like I said, I entered somewhere around 19.1, 19.15. Does this need to hold? It doesn't necessarily need to hold. I mean, once you get down to these lower time frames, you can always see deviation in price. But nonetheless, I do think, and I'm not saying that's what I think is going to happen. I'm hoping that this just holds, and off of the Powell volatility this morning or the Europe volatility in the afternoon, that maybe worst case scenario, we sweep this low and fake people out real quick, and then we power through. Either way, I'm looking for a strong move up. Most likely today, honestly. And yeah, I think that's it for ES and Bitcoin. As far as ETH goes, my ETH has been the same. I haven't been looking much at the ETH low time frame. I'm interested high time frame here, and I think as we get towards here, you probably get some type of a rejection. Although could be short term, as the way we're seeing ES and BTC shape up. Maybe short-term rejection and flip to support, move higher for the rest of this liquidity. I didn't even really think of this till now, but that is definitely a possibility as well. Okay, I'll be watching for that. Otherwise, you push into the resistance and you have your previous resistance. If it doesn't flip to support and you lose it and it flips back into resistance, then that's probably your short towards here. Okay. I had one question from somebody. Let me pull that up real quick. Hello, Chase. Hope you're doing great. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your stuff. You're welcome. About a couple months ago, I started trading, and this will get into a bit of a discussion and whatnot. Just my thoughts on it. A couple months ago, I started watching your videos, consistently feeling fear when trading. Guys, my pinned post, right? Even though it's a profitable setup that I trade off, and I experienced the fear of losing. What if my setup stopped working? And never experienced significant drawdown. In other words, the fear of losing is more than the excitement of winning. Okay, first off, you shouldn't be thinking about winning and losing about euphoria and excitement and fear, and all those emotions are only going to harm you, right? You should try to be more systematic, more methodical, more accepting that the market can be random at times, and you're not always going to be right. The big thing, in my opinion, is you're saying fear of losing. Well, if you had no risk on the line, you wouldn't have any fear of losing, right? Is it the fear of your idea losing, or is it the fear of you losing money? Because for me, I actually, especially when posting to Twitter, I actually have more fear of, and it's not because I'm some multi-millionaire, but I have more fear of me being wrong. You know why? Because it means I'm at a disconnect with the market, and then that hurts my confidence for the future, and I don't know if I'm necessarily, it makes you question, are you capable, right? When, try losing 10 trades in a row and then, say, am I capable of doing this? Am I good enough to do this? So for me, it's never about losing the money because my risk is always in check. So you have to ask yourself, is the fear over losing the money, or is the fear over being wrong? If your fear is about losing the money, you simply need to reduce your risk, and just keep trading. The more you trade, the more comfortable you're going to get. Okay, reduce your risk, and you're going to feel better. Something that I do as I go into trades often, and people are going to say, oh, well, you got to have a set risk for every single time. You got to have a set parameter, and somewhat true. But for me personally, what works for me is I often look at a setup and I say, how confident am I in this? Am I full risk confident, or am I only half risk confident? And sometimes I'll take a half risk trade. It's not the end of the world, right? I'm still getting some profit. Or I wasn't very confident in it, and I'm reassured essentially to say, when I see that, oh hey, look, I was wrong, wasn't the best setup. Good thing I only did it on half risk. And if I take a full risk and I'm wrong, I just have to look at it and try to evaluate, what's wrong. Is the market acting different than it usually does? Do I need to adjust my bias? It's as simple as that. So if you have the fear of losing money, it's all about reducing risk. And if you have a fear of losing, I think, losing in your idea being wrong, I think that's no different than anything in life. You're not always going to be right. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. None of us are special, right? It's just, you do your best. That's it. It's no different than, like I said, I always go back to video games because video games are always a big part of my life. But you're at the end of a tournament. You're trying to hold B tunnels on a push on DDoS 2. Hopefully people understand this. And what's going through your head is like, this is match point. I need to hold here. Am I good enough? I'm not sure if that necessarily goes through people's heads, but if you're someone who ever took games seriously and you watched footage back and stuff, and you see yourself make mistakes and whatnot, you just got to look at it and you say, oh well, what can I improve here? There's no one's gonna sprinkle any magic dust on your brain and make you a better trader. It's gonna come through experience and effort and constantly trying and practicing and getting better. So fear of losing money, reduce risk. Fear of losing in general, nonsense. It's just stupid. You shouldn't have a fear of losing. You need to just accept that sometimes you will be wrong, and you need to tell yourself that, okay, if I am wrong, I will work to figure out what I did wrong and how I can improve. It's as simple as that. Okay? If you enjoyed this video, please like and retweet the tweet. My links are at the bottom if you want to sign up to Prime XBT, you get a deposit bonus. It supports the channel. If you enjoy these videos, your signups and your deposits on there are fairly crucial to me continuing to make these videos. Like I always say, even a couple hundred, anything helps. It is what it is, right? They pay me to make the videos, so I have to play that role. And if they didn't pay me, I probably wouldn't make them nearly as frequently, because I just really, it is what it is. I love and appreciate the following and everyone that interacts with me. But like I said, over the past 2 weeks or whatever, at times it feels so much better to just do this on your own. And a lot of you guys will never experience that, to have your trades being under scrutiny in a million different ways. So not only are you at question with yourself and scrutinizing yourself and your own thought process, but you're being scrutinized by 20 other people on Twitter, or depending on how big your account is, it could be hundreds of people. And yeah, sometimes it's tough to block all that stuff out and whatnot. And yeah, that's about it. So appreciate you all very much, and hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, like and retweet the tweet. Appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys next week. Peace out.